Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we chat about all things business, or we talk about how they became authors and writers. These interviews are so casual that you feel as if you are joining me and a girlfriend for coffee. But you don't have to be a business owner or author to enjoy this show because we talk about all kinds of things. We share great books with each other, recipes, weekly schedules, and so much more. These women share their stories with us, and it's my hope that you will be encouraged to live out your story. So please spread the word and tell others about this podcast. If you get a minute, please head over to iTunes and leave me a comment there and tell me how much you like the show. This helps others find this podcast. My guest today is Tiffany Bluhm. Tiffany is a Bible study leader, speaker, and writer who has been featured on ScaryMommy.com and World Vision magazine. She also writes Bible studies for the YouVersion Bible app. You know, it's that Bible app that we all have on our phones. Her study there is called Flourish, 21 Ways to Thrive by 45. Tiffany shares her story with us about how she was abandoned by her parents as a child and how she now devotes her time helping other women with self-esteem and how to fill that father-shaped hole. Tiffany also leads a Bible study called Sip at the Table with women who are committed to growth, wholeness, and healing. They are learning how to lean in, when to walk away, and when to wait it out. Here is my conversation with Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany Bluhm. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Corrine?
Good. Thanks for coming on. I'm so excited to meet you for the first time.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on the show. So I found you on Instagram because you had written this short little thing called 13 Things Every Christian Woman Should Be Doing by 35, which caught my eye. And then I just sort of, in a rabbit trail, just kind of kept looking, and I found you, and I was like, wow, because you are a writer. You write.
Oh, thank you.
Like everywhere, like all kinds of stuff. So tell me about yourself and who you are. And
Yeah. So I am 30, just turned 30, and I was in full-time ministry for about a decade at a church here in the Pacific Northwest. But I started writing at about 17 and preached my first sermon at 17 on a Sunday morning service at my home church down in Chehalis, Washington. Yeah, little podunk town. And I always knew my life would be speaking, writing, always. In high school, I knew it. In college, I worked in an English lab grading papers and helping edit papers, and I loved words. In fact, I remember when I was a little girl, one of my favorite things was a blank sheet of paper because I could put words on it. So writing has always been a passion, and I'm an avid reader. So always knew that this was going to be, if it was going to be a way to love and serve people, it was going to be with the written and spoken word.
Wow. And tell me your story, because you have an amazing backstory of how you got to be where you are. And because you also do Bible studies, you, like you said, you were a speaker, you bring people together, you reach out to other women, but you have an amazing story yourself of how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah. So I was abandoned at birth and adopted at 2. And growing up really just kind of wrestled like every woman does with her identity and the hunger for acceptance and significance. And when I was in high school, my senior year, knew I really felt called to go into full-time ministry. And so did that in a traditional setting for a decade. And which also meant women's ministry for a decade. Even if you're not on the women's ministry team, if you're in any church, you always get pulled into that stuff.
Right.
But I was truly amazed at what God could do in the transformation of a woman's soul because he had done it in mine. And so when I left the traditional church model to just write and speak full time and take care of my little ones, I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to gather women, but I wanted it to be a little bit unstructured and not your, no offense, but the
Just a
powdered coffee
typical.
creamer in the
Mm-hmm.
basement, you know,
Yeah.
and I wanted something different. And so I really, really set out to do that. And I was thinking if I was going to create a women's Bible study, what would it look like? And so called a friend who owns a fine dining restaurant in town. And on its only night off on Sunday nights, we have about 65, 70 women who gather. And the
Wow.
only way, Corinne, this is crazy. The only way women find out about it is through social media. So
Really?
I don't know. So in fact, we start Sunday, we start back up for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the 65 women, I probably know maybe 5 to 10 because people just invite people. And unfortunately, it's kind of, we've hit a wall with our space. It's such a beautiful restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And the chef comes in early and prepares all of our food
Oh,
and
so they do
wine to
have
match.
food.
They do. They set it all
Wow.
up and then they leave. And then we just leave the dirty dishes for the next morning. So they don't
Wow.
stay.
Uh-huh.
So it keeps the cost down. So because of that little arrangement, women do register to be there to
Okay.
cover the cost of their wine and their food. But it's beautiful, beautiful food that we could never create on our own. I mean, just
Wow. What a
yeah,
great
just
idea. Because, like you
yeah,
said, down in the basement of a church, and what I have found too is just that it's just more relaxed, and then people are more apt to come if it's at a restaurant, if it's
they
at a
are. It's
public
such neutral
venue.
ground. It's such neutral ground.
Yeah.
So we probably have girls from 15, 16 different churches who attend, but then plenty of people who don't attend church at all, that this is their first introduction to the faith.
Hmm.
And obviously I don't take that lightly, having girls who've been walking with the Lord for some time, or if they're brand new to faith. So it's really just truly a beautiful gathering. And the restaurant's called The Table.
Oh,
And
I
there's a
love
22
that.
seat communal table that runs down the middle. So it's beautifully
Wow.
decorated. And there's, on our team, we don't do table leaders or anything like that. But when you come in, there's a place setting as if you're going to a dinner party
Oh,
of,
wow.
you grab it and sit where you want. And then there's greens running down the table and candles and candelabras. And it's just we feel like, first of all, women deserve a nice night out with their girlfriends, but
Yeah.
then also a night to connect and just get honest with themselves and have a chance to journal and connect with the Lord and pray with each other and hear the
Hmm.
word, as well as have a night to treat yourself. It's really
Yeah.
it's a beautiful night to
Breaking
just
bread and wine. It's
exactly.
just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
nice. And in a
Truly.
nice restaurant.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
it's a very well known place in town. I mean, it's a pretty
what's
nice place. So
what's the format? So, are you standing up speaking, or do they already have the Bible study in front of them? How does
nope.
that
So how
work?
we do it is when you walk in, and again, a lot of girls, if it's their first time, there's a greeter at the door instructing your name tag. Go.
Hmm.
We don't serve wine on the table, and obviously we have non-alcoholic beverages. And further, if somebody does struggle with that, I don't want a wine bottle sitting in front of them the whole night.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you grab your glass from your table, go up, grab your wine, get in line for food. So the first 25 minutes is just to catch up. And you don't have to go through homework from the week before, anything. Just catch up again, because this really is, for a lot of women, their only night out. We
Yeah.
average the age is probably 30 to 45, 30 women age 30 to 45. So maybe some in their late 20s. Um, so really just a time to catch up. And then about 7:25, it starts at 7. I do a few announcements, like we're planning a retreat. I actually started a women's ministry. It was not on my list of things to do, but we've started this I mean, we have probably 150 women on our mailing list who try to nab a spot when we're open. And unfortunately, with only 65, 70 spots, not everybody gets in. But so 5 minutes
Wow.
of announcements, and then at 7:30, I start preaching, and I preach for an hour. And
Uh-huh.
then at 8:30, we do a time 10 minutes just to journal, and we have live music, live worship music, and we don't encourage them to sing along, but just really listen and
Mm.
journal of what the Lord is speaking to them in that moment. We give journal prompts at the tables, and then
Hmm.
it moves into a time of discussion questions, and the discussion questions are at the tables.
Wow. And do they break up
Yeah.
into smaller groups then?
They're already at
They're already at a
dining
small
tables, so
group.
they're already in groups of 4. So it's
Okay.
so perfect. There's not 8 people at a table who don't know each other trying to talk about deep things of life. You've already
Mhm.
sat with somebody you know, and we even when in our advertising, we say come with a friend, because we're get deep, and I don't
Okay.
expect you to do that with strangers. And so grab a girlfriend, make this your night out. Come and let's
Yeah.
get real honest. It's a time to be vulnerable, and we're really upfront about that. We want to work through the hard stuff. So for the fall session, we did matters of the heart. talking about we see other people through our own pain. So how are we going to work through that? And what is the Lord going to lead us to that? So we're about to talk about relationships and friendships. So it's going to be everything from conflict resolution to who are you to the people in your life, your husband, your boyfriend, your kids, your friends, in your church. What's your role, and how are you doing in humility? How are you doing in repentance and forgiveness and giving grace? And so it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah. That's amazing that you've got that huge, following, and you've got, people, a lot of those women coming on a
Yeah,
Sunday,
and
Sunday
I've
night. It's
never met
awesome.
these people. It's crazy. It's
Wow.
people just share on social media, and then
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the perfect storm of a great restaurant, great food. It
Hmm.
ends up being, I think, like $7 a session. Where are you going to get dinner and 2 glasses of wine for $7 and a time
Are
with the
you
Lord?
kidding? It's like $7
Yeah,
a session.
yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing. That's great. And what a
yeah,
great situation that you were friends with the person from the restaurant. And
yeah.
yeah,
His wife
that's,
was my assistant for a few years, and so when they opened the restaurant, I was like, "Can I
hmm.
borrow this?"
Yeah.
So
That's the
it's good.
thing. I think I've run one group and another group also of women, and it's hard to find places to meet in big
Mm-hmm.
cities that
Mm-hmm.
isn't already taken up, or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's always a struggle to find, you know, of course, offices. Sometimes that's a little bit too cold, but like I love that
Yeah.
situation that you've got with the restaurant. Man,
Yeah.
that gives me an
And
idea.
truly creating an inviting space. And I wrote an article on how to create we call it SIP, hence because we serve
Yeah.
alcohol. But um, I wrote an article, it's on my blog, of just how to create this wherever you're at, in whatever city you're at, looking for people, because people are, I mean, he was tickled pink when I asked him. He was like, of course, use this for ministry. Absolutely. So you don't know until you ask, right? You don't
That's
know what
true.
you,
That's
what,
very encouraging. Yeah, because
yeah,
there are people in probably listening in small towns right now that are thinking, I would love to start something like this, but I don't have the space. I don't want them always coming to my house. My
right. Oh
family,
no.
like
Yeah,
my
no.
family, I can't have people over sometimes. It's just they're just all over, even though it's just there's not very
Right.
many of them, but they're just like they spread out throughout my house. It's like
Also,
there's
then you
really
got to
not.
clean your toilets. You got to clean your
That's
toilets
right.
every week, rain or shine. I mean, not
That's
that I'm not going to
hard.
clean my toilets
Yeah.
anyway, but to making sure, because then you're worried, you're like, oh, is this clean?
Right.
That would be so much pressure. I can't do that. I
Yeah,
can't roll
it's
like that.
it's it would be nice to just go somewhere and do
Right.
that. That would be awesome. So,
Yeah,
well, neat. Yeah, I'll have to send them over to SIP, and I think you have it on your website, which is great.
I
And
do.
that way
Yeah.
they can check it out and find out more information on how they can start one themselves and
Yeah.
create that community, because that's what women want,
Yeah.
right? They want to
Right.
connect.
Right. Absolutely. And then just a few things to add about that. Outside of that, we just have a private Facebook group. When we're not in session, we do 5 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 5 weeks on, 3 weeks off. And then through the summer, we just do wine night. I have a good sized backyard, so we can fit about 50 women. And then people just come on over, and there's a cute little entrance around the side. Don't even have to come in my house. And we
Mm-hmm.
do, but that's just once a month, so,
Mm-hmm.
through the summer. So we do that, but also when women attend, before you leave, you can't leave without filling like a 3x5 card of a prayer request. And then the prayer
Oh,
team of a
wow.
designated women, you get a text that week directly about your prayer request. And if there's been a passage that we kind of felt prompted to share with that individual woman, or however, just let them know we're standing with them. We stand with you. We believe in you.
Yeah.
We believe in what God's doing in your life. So it gives us a pulse on what women are going through. We're not a stranger to their plight or struggle because we have those prayer requests. So it really is also able to direct my message when I know there's a felt need um, among the women. So that's also something
Yeah.
that we've really, really loved doing.
That's really cool. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that you're connecting. And you also have another ministry where you're helping. Is it an official ministry where you're doing like a human trafficking help? Are you still
Oh,
doing that?
yeah. I started one when I was on staff at a local church. There was such a need. There was so many beautiful organizations in our city addressing homelessness, poverty, uh, the education system, various things like that. But we didn't really see any heavy hitters really addressing local sex trafficking or the sex industry in general, strip clubs, bikini baristas or anything like that. So for about 5 years, I led that. And it's been about a year and a half since I've been involved in that. But it was a beautiful, and I'm such an entrepreneur at heart. So being able to start that and learn what the needs were, educate ourselves, and reach women all throughout the Pacific Northwest. So it was a beautiful time. Definitely a seed sowing ministry.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah.
You're just doing all kinds of stuff, and I don't know, how do you do it all? Because you've got two kids, you've got two boys. No, do you have a boy and a girl, or just two? You have two boys.
Two boys. Yep.
Two boys,
boys.
6 and 2. Is that
Yes.
right? And you're, a big hands-on mom and do all kinds of stuff with them. And how do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
of patience.
it's so funny. A lot of girlfriends ask me that. They're like, I don't understand how all of this is getting done. And
Right.
I have a large amount of writing projects outside of this and travel and speaking engagements. But I am so diligent with my time. I really am. In the mornings, my oldest is in kindergarten. Hallelujah. But my youngest is home all day. He's 2. And so
Okay.
my husband is a realtor. He works at home. So we take turns each day. Okay, you get 2 hours here. I get 2 hours there. You get 2
That's
hours here. So
great.
I make the most of it. So nap time is precious. I can get a lot done. In fact, my goal at nap time is usually, 1,300 words. If I can write 1,300 words a day, I can stay on track with my writing projects and different things like that. So, and then after they go to bed as well. So I am extremely, extremely guarded with my time. I say no to a lot so I can say yes to the great things.
Yeah, and organized. So that's good
Yeah.
that you're organized and you do all kinds of, blocking time. That's
For sure.
amazing. I love that.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me, what is your favorite thing to do of all the things? You speak, you write,
I
you
feel
do
the pleasure
studies.
of God most, truly, truly when I get to communicate the gospel, through the spoken word. Honestly, I remember I was 17 and I was sharing just my testimony, and I had invited this girl from school. I was a junior in high school, and she was doing drugs and wear all black. I was a cheerleader, but I loved this girl, and I could just, she was broken, and I recognized that brokenness in myself and what God had done to bring healing and wholeness. And I said, I'm sharing a little about my story. Would you come? And she came and got to share. And I was um, so excited to do so. And when I stepped down off our little platform in in our gym at our church, I just felt a whisper of, you're going to do this for the rest of your life. And that was 13 years ago. And, it's been an honor. I've got to travel the world and share the gospel. And so, it is truly my great honor. To know you're fully in the will of God when you get to speak of his goodness and his grace and his mercy. It really is. It's just a taste of heaven when you just, it's like a fire in your bones. It's electrifying to be doing what he called you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And not in seeking a stage, not in any of that. No, 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 no. But truly just to go low and serve women and men where they're at. Yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
back to this connecting with them on a human level and just kind of getting
Right.
face to face and sharing that story, your story with them, and
Yeah.
then letting them see, what how evident God is in your life
Yeah.
is all we can do, and that's all we're responsible for, and
Yeah.
sharing God's word. So that, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that's just powerful right there. So yeah,
Amen. That's
yeah.
right. For
So
sure.
you are in your 30s. You're 30 or 30?
I'm 30. I
You're
just turned
30.
30
You
in
just
September.
turned
Yeah.
30. Okay. And you are from Indian descent.
Uh-huh.
So have you gone back to India since
I
you were?
have. I have. I've gone a couple times actually. I was speaking at a women's conference in Calcutta and in a church conference there, and took a team from the church I was on staff here in the Northwest, and was able to go up to Delhi and go and visit the very orphanage I was left.
Oh, wow.
It was a very sobering moment of Oh man, and my dearest friend, I lived in London for a little while, and so she came with me. So walking in and having just, and I'd been married 2 months and left my husband for like
Oh,
3 weeks to
wow.
go to India. Yeah. Um, Walking in and seeing these little girls with shaved heads and ears pierced and knowing like them, we were left, we were forgotten, and still believing God is good. And, in those moments, I've read that it's not uncommon for an adopted child to feel guilty for being adopted while they're not adopted. And especially because I was so young at 2, and these girls were, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
They
8.
were older.
And
Mm-hmm.
right, right. And even at the time I visited, it wasn't permitted to adopt from India. So their doors were closed. And so my heart just broke. And the thing that really, really got me was I don't have a baby picture. And my first picture is really at 2 when I was adopted. And I just under 2. And so seeing the little ones when I got to the nursery in their cribs and just seeing rows and rows of cribs with no mama, no daddy coming to rock
Wow.
them and pat them, or no warm bottle on its way after they woke up from their nap. They were there. They were covered in rashes and and just it was devastating to see just all these little girls. Um, and for the first time, I was like, this is my beginning. Like, this is where I started. And just, someone can go looking for answers in a place like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't find any answers to my questions. And if I did, they weren't good ones. But truly, Ephesians 3 of the love of God surpasses knowledge. Any knowledge I could find that day wouldn't satisfy my soul, but to know that the presence of God, He is not the source of our grief. He is the answer to it. And I remember one little girl had on, this hand-me-down shirt that said, "My mommy loves me." And it broke me of just thinking, Mama's not coming back, sister. She's not coming back. But um, I buckled. I wept with those babies as they woke up from their nap, wanting someone to hold them, and nobody was there to do such thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was hard. And there is no happy ending to stories like that. It is truly only by the grace of God that He is enough. Like, His love for them as much as it is for you or I or anyone who walks the earth. And so they aren't forgotten to Him. And knowing that this side of heaven, it might not ever be a beautiful ending to the story, but they are loved. They are truly, truly beloved in the eyes of God. So yeah,
Wow, what an experience that you were able to go back
it
and just
was.
see kind of where you were and what
Yeah.
where you had been, and at least you got to see that and sort of
Yeah.
see what and yeah, I can imagine that you people would feel kind of like, why me? Why was I
Right.
chosen out of that?
Right.
And they're still here, and some don't, like you said, some don't have those great endings to those stories
Yeah.
yet maybe, but
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
so
For sure. And also just, I was 22 when I went
mhm,
for the first time, and feeling like an imposter. I have this skin. I look like everyone else, but
mhm,
I mean, I am a coconut, and so just going over there and feeling like, oh my goodness, I finally, for the first time, match. I felt out of place, and I've been embarrassed in my skin my whole life growing up, especially in a predominantly white community. And so now for the first time, feeling proud of my skin and feeling proud of my
mhm.
heritage and proud of my features. Um, but not knowing a lick of the culture. So it was definitely a crazy experience that I treasure, and it just taught me so much, and
Yeah.
um, gave me such a love for my culture like I never had before. It's one thing to read about it in an encyclopedia or Google it, and it's another thing to stand among literally a billion people.
I don't know. Yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
To there's
it's
so
pretty
many
wild.
people. So many
Yeah,
people there.
1.4 billion. I mean, literally, I'm one in a billion.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
But I love
it's pretty
that. I love that
crazy.
you were able to feel connected. I'm
Yeah.
from Hispanic descent, and so we live here in Nashville, and not everyone looks like myself or my daughter. And so I remember we were in San Antonio on a vacation trip, And I told my daughter, now my son kind of has, his skin is a little bit lighter like my husband, but my daughter gets dark like I do in the sun, especially in the summer when we suntan. We're out.
Yep.
If we're out on the beach, we get pretty dark. And so I said, you're going to go to the world where you're going to be in a city where everyone looks like you. And she was like, what? What does that mean? And so we were on one of those little boat rides in the middle of San Antonio and on the Riverwalk. And lo and behold, someone from our church was on the banks. And
oh my goodness,
she noticed them. And so she's waving frantically, right? And so the mom, and they're Caucasian, so this family with their son, the mom and the dad and the son, she's waving at them. I didn't know she had seen them and she recognized them, so she's waving at them. And they're looking at her like, why is that, like native Texan little girl, Hispanic girl waving at us? Like, we don't know her. And then lo and behold, we did know each other and they did know us. But because she, totally out of element, and she's like, they're thinking, we don't know anybody in San Antonio, but it was,
that is
we ran into someone
funny.
from our church, but but I was like, yeah, that's because you look like everybody here. You look like all the girls here. So he didn't recognize, your friend did not recognize you because you looked like just about every other girl that lives here in San Antonio. But, so I can see, I kind of relate of just connecting with people, but yet still feeling a little bit of an outsider because you grew up in a different culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though your skins matched, it was a different culture altogether. But
yeah. In fact, I remember when in Calcutta, New Delhi is so much farther north than Calcutta, and their skin is a touch lighter, and Calcutta their skin is a bit darker. And we were at a restaurant having dinner, and I had to convince one of the gentlemen that was sitting at the table. I was Indian. He's like, "No, you're Latin. You're definitely Latin." I'm like, "Dude, I'm Indian. I swear." Yeah. He's like, "You're too light. You're too light, or you're too English. You're too English." And I'm like, "No, I'm one of you. I promise.
I promise." Trying to convince.
Look at my birth certificate. Yeah.
That's funny. So crazy. Tiffany, so you are a businesswoman. I mean, you're still, even though you've got all these things and you're doing a lot of ministry, you are still, you've got a website, you've got speaking engagements. Do you have like a virtual assistant, or do you do most of your things on your own? How do you run this little?
Yeah. It's interesting. When I was in, on the pastoral staff at the church I was at, I had an assistant the entire time I worked there. So
nice.
Once I stepped away, it was the first time not having help to do all my, checking my emails and making my phone calls. So I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta do this myself. But I'm all about stick to your strengths, hire your weaknesses, delegate well. So I do what I do best. I do the writing, and then a lot of almost everything else I delegate well. So I delegate. So for a lot of my social media, I have a gal, she lives in Colorado Springs. She does all of that. So even for SIP, I only speak. There's a gal who's in charge of picking the music and running all of that, and then the table decorations, and we order journals for everybody, all of that. So I really just try to stick with what I'm good at and let people, we all are just so gifted, and watching other women do their thing, and other men and women who are really gifted. So early on with my site, I had a lot of help, but I have really wanted to learn a lot of it myself, knowing that I could just work faster versus waiting on other people. So again, I picked a simple site, simple layout, so I can keep it pretty updated.
That's great.
Yeah.
And do you have a favorite app that you love to use? I always ask people, what's your favorite? And it doesn't have to be a business app, just any kind of app that you just absolutely love.
Oh, yeah. Man, I use so many things all the time. This is kind of more very simple and task related, but Genius Scan, you can scan any doc as like a scanner.
Oh, yeah.
It is awesome. So you can take a picture of anything and it'll turn it like anything with your phone, and it'll turn it into a PDF, and then you can sign it if you need to, email it back right away. So, in fact, when we were in the adoption process, Genius Scan was so helpful. And so with a lot, even like my speaking engagement contracts, I use a Genius Scan for almost everything.
That's
Just quick on
great.
my phone. I don't have to print anything out. It just goes to Genius Scan, sign it, send it back. So
And when they
it's
send it
kind of
back,
fabulous.
so you can just press a button and it goes to a PD. It goes to, where does it go to on your
PDF,
phone?
email it to wherever you want it to.
Email
It
it to
stays
you.
within the app.
Okay.
Your document stays within the app, and
Mhm.
then you can just email it to wherever you need. So you can email it to yourself, and then if you want to amend it from there and write a little message with it.
Yeah.
But you can email it to anybody through the app even. Oh my goodness, it's fabulous. I love it.
That sounds
Yeah.
great. Speaking of apps, I forgot to mention you write for YouVerse. Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
YouVersion, the Bible
YouVersion.
app. The Bible
The
app.
Bible app that everybody has on their phone. I mean,
Yes, the
well,
most
not
downloaded app in
everybody.
the world.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? Like
255 million users.
255 million users. It's that little brown, it
Yep.
says Holy Bible, right?
Yes, it does.
And it's
Yeah.
YouVersion. So what do you do for them?
Yeah, I write Bible studies. So Bible studies for women. So it is such an honor. In fact, I have a couple other big writing projects that have been very exciting. I've been working on, and more on that later. But um, a dear friend of mine who reads my blog writes for them, and she said they're not taking any new writers, but she's like, you got to write for them. So she's like, I'm going to email their content manager, who is in charge of all new writers, and had a great interview and such chemistry, and it was just such an awesome thing to get to write for such a
Yeah.
widespread, well used app. So in fact, I have one on there right now that launched just about about a week and a half ago.
Yeah,
It's called
what's it called?
Flourish.
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 Okay.
21 Ways to Thrive by 45.
I love that.
It's a lot of fun. It's 21-day study and gets you right. It's, although it's a little clickbait of a title, it goes in deep. The first day is process your loss and grief. Really stop ignoring your pain and lean into it and find the treasure in your pain. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I definitely encourage listeners to check it out. A lot of
Yeah,
fun.
I love that. I'm going to
Yeah.
be looking for that, definitely for that Bible study on YouVersion. Because I have it. It's one of my favorite apps. I love
Oh
that I
yeah.
can, like if I'm going to be listening to something, I mean, if I'm going to be on the road, I'll want to listen to something. Sometimes I'll just put it on like, oh, I've been studying Acts, so I need Acts, whatever.
Yes.
And I
And it
need to,
reads it out loud to you.
yeah,
It's
I
so
love
great.
that. And whatever version just about has the
Yeah.
speaking version. So love
And
that.
even how you can share your reading plans with your friends now. Have you seen that? You can add your friends, and so they see what you're reading. You can talk
No.
about what you're reading within the app. There's so many cool features.
Wow.
You can set reminders for yourself on it, so it'll pop up. Go
I
read
need
your Bible
that.
study.
I
Yeah,
need that. I need that one.
yeah.
Well, do you read? Are you a reader as well?
Avid reader. That's how I recharge. That's my me time. And so
Hmm.
I'm not a go get alone or take a bath or do your nails type of girl. If I can just get some time to read, my batteries are 100% recharged. So I probably read 2 or 3 books a week
Oh,
after the
wow.
kids go to bed. If I
Are
don't have
you a
something to
speed
work
reader?
on, I
How
read
in the
probably.
world?
No, I don't think. I think I'm probably pretty average. But I read probably from 8:30 p.m. till about 11:30 or midnight every night.
Really?
Yeah, I love
Wow.
reading. I'm such an avid reader. Yeah.
So what's on your nightstand right now? What are you reading?
Oh, okay. So I just finished, I mean, probably like every woman who loves home renovation in America, I just finished the Magnolia Story.
I
Chip and
love
JoJo.
them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Have you read it? It's so
No.
good. It's so good.
And it's called the
They just
Magnolia
kind of share the
Story.
backstory. Yeah, the Magnolia Story, Chip and Joanna Gaines. And they kind of just talk about how they got to where they are now. And it
Okay.
is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It's kind of a he said, she said, their version, his version,
Oh,
her version.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I
Just the
definitely need to get that.
honesty of where they were at and what they were going through, and the financial struggle, fighting for their dreams, having 4 kids back to back. And she talks even about, pursuing her dreams with little kids at home. And so that really, really
Mm-hmm.
spoke to me of, I can't feel guilty for doing what God's called me to do, and simultaneously passionately raising and shepherding my children,
Mm-hmm.
and making that number one as well. So it was just a really, really, really beautiful read. Um, Another one I finished up was Essentialism. The author escapes me right now, but it was a popular one. It was the one you see
Yeah.
you see in the airport when you're at the quick bookstore when you're about to get on a flight.
I think I've read that,
Um,
but it's been like has it been out for a while? Because I think I've read it a year or two ago. It's not
yeah, it's
new.
probably been out
It's
for a
older.
minute. It's probably been out for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm naturally like a one thing at a time person. I
Oh,
try
you
not to
are.
have too many things going. Yeah. I
You
mean, I
just read
do,
like
I
one book at a
have some
time.
big things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, one book at a time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this book, I felt like it was the beat of the drum that I already danced to, but it gave me really practical ways to keep on keeping on. And so this
Yeah.
guy, he's more of a business self-help type of book, but it was very much do one thing and do it well, and don't try to grow for the sake of being bigger, but be an expert, whether it's in your home or in your business or whatever. So,
Yeah.
know your limits, know your limits of what you can really handle. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, especially when you're kind of freelance work and you're doing things, you're your own boss. It's easy to just go, go, go and push, push, push because you can, but it doesn't mean you should. So just think what you do and don't overexert to the point that you're burning out on things you love. So it was just a great read. Another one, I dubbed 2016 the year of emotional health, of just, my son being
Mm-hmm.
adopted at 2.5, my oldest son, Jericho. There was a lot of trauma to work through there. And so, seeking trauma counseling for him and therapy for him, and as well as my husband and I. And I remember we were in a introductory counseling session for my son. And, the counselor was like, "Are you in counseling? You might benefit from." I'm like, "I haven't been in for like a year. I'll get back in it." And so gave me some good books to read, but one of them was Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. And it was a game changer for me. And I know it's a pretty popular one in especially for pastors and church staff. He has another one called Emotionally Healthy Church.
Mm-hmm.
And truly just identifying who you are. Why do you do what you do? Have you addressed some of the things that aren't going so well, the habits and hangups that were birthed by your family of origin? How does that play into your marriage and life now? And so it was definitely a godsend of a book. And just even, in this last year of pursuing counseling and emotional health, and for my husband as well. And he's all on board for that. So it's just been a really, really beautiful thing, because we're being redeemed, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
so much more God has for us. And it's often when we're willing to dip into the dark. So it's just,
That's
yeah,
true.
great book. I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend it.
I'll
Highly
have to
recommend
get
it.
that. Yeah, those look great. Those are great books, and some of them are,
Yeah.
yeah. I love the Magnolia People, the Chip and
Oh,
Joanna gang.
so good.
But I think
So
the whole
good.
world loves
You
them.
know what? I
So,
love, okay, more than, right? We can all just be in love with them. We need more Joanna
yeah.
Gaines in our life.
Yes, we do. We do. So, what three things are you absolutely loving these days?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so speaking of home renovation, I am obsessed with this Love It or List It Vancouver.
Oh,
Have you familiar with that? It's on
well,
HGTV.
I know Love It or List It.
So
Um,
they have a Vancouver one. It's the
oh,
gal she was on The Bachelor. Or The Bachelorette, or The Bachelor. I think she was on both actually. Jillian
mhm.
Harris, and a realtor who's local to Vancouver. And being in the Seattle area, that's just 4 hours away from me.
Oh,
So
okay.
just the pan of the Pacific Northwest, the shots they do in
Oh
the mountain
man,
range, it's my home.
yeah,
It's so beautiful. I love living here. I feel like I'm in a fairy tale fantasy. It's just so gorgeous. I live 5 minutes from the waterfront. I mean, it's just a really stunning place with
nice.
the cascades in the background. So, anyway, I love that show. I love that my husband's a realtor. So it's
Oh, okay.
equal
So,
parts home
so y'all
renovation
could,
and getting to see new houses.
yeah. So
So
y'all
we
can both
love
do it. I mean, watch it. Y'all can
it.
both watch
Oh
it
yeah.
and love
We
it.
would
So it's something
never
y'all would
watch it
do
without
together.
each other. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's good.
Love It or List It Vancouver is my absolute favorite. I love coffee because I have
Oh
children,
yeah.
and I was never a coffee drinker until I had not one but two children. I was like, out of necessity, I think this might need to be
Yeah.
part of my life.
Do you do it
Um,
black or do you have like you have
oh,
to
I
put
wish I was that
everything in
cool.
there?
I wish I was that cool. Kareen, why can't I be that cool? Why can I not drink it black?
Just
I can't do it.
can't do it.
I just feel like I'm like, man, you're a real woman. If you can drink it black, that's real. You got this. No, I need it with so much creamer. It's not even funny. But I'm really into So Delicious coconut vanilla creamer.
Oh yeah.
I'm the one. I read all the labels. I'm
Your health.
I've got
Yeah.
enough hippie in me and to live
Mm-hmm.
in the Northwest but everything I know in there I can pronounce and I feel comfortable with it. So I love that creamer. I try to limit myself to 2 cups a day so I don't get diabetes. But but I love it. It's so good. And then the other thing I am really loving, and I don't know if your readers do this, your listeners do this very often, but I love clothing exchanges. My friends and I,
Yeah.
every few months, and in my supper club, actually, the two other gals in it, we meet once a month, and we usually clear out our closets before we meet. Even in one month, we accumulate so much, whether it's handbags, scarves,
Mm-hmm.
clothes, shoes, doesn't matter what size. We bring it and then just take each other's stuff. I think this last time got about 20 articles of clothing, everything from a pair of jeans to a leather jacket to whatever. So
Wow.
it's so funny now because I've been doing clothing exchanges probably for about 2 years, but I can't bring myself to actually go buy anything and spend money. I'm
That's
like, if
so
it's a gift
nice.
card,
And
oh,
see,
I
I'm like,
love it. I love it.
I hope that, like, I want to do that. I would love to do that. I don't think I've ever really officially done it with anyone, but we've talked about it. My girlfriend group and we've talked about it, but we've never really. I mean, are y'all all around the same size, or do you just do like?
We're not. Isn't that wild? Okay, so
Yeah.
my dearest friend, I'm definitely the bigger girl of the group. We'll just put it that way. The size
Okay.
bigger than most of them, maybe 2 sizes bigger than most of them. And my dearest friend, I mean, I think one of them's 5'7", the other one's 5'9". I'm 5'1", and they're probably, I don't know, size small, size extra small. Yet her blazers fit me. I don't even know
Wow.
how. And you know what? Especially if we, I mean, I brought a lot of pre-baby stuff to the
Uh
to the
huh.
clothing exchange, and some of the post-baby stuff. So there was tons of stuff, and we were all trading blazers, jeans, jackets,
I want
scarves.
to do
In
that.
fact, I remember she had a really nice REI jacket. I mean, we live in the Northwest, so warm clothing is kind of a
Mm-hmm.
necessity, not a fashion statement. And this beautiful down red jacket. And I felt when I put it on, I was like, I can't believe it fits. But I looked like Big Hero 6. I mean, I couldn't even put my arms next to me. I looked like a Michelin man. But
Oh
I mean, the
no.
point was, I'm like, I can't believe this fits. This is so great. It's not me, but it actually fits.
But it fits.
And
Yeah.
there's a group in town. There's a group in town that does huge, like they bring in racks and you bring like
Oh
anywhere
wow.
from 20, 30 articles and there's like 40 women. So there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles of clothing.
Okay, I have done one of those, like where it's strangers, but like it was something like I brought so many and I got like coupons back and then I could shop. It was
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. So like
They just asked us to play nice, like be
yeah,
nice. If
just like
somebody's
don't be
looking
a
at something, don't be
hoarder.
all like,
Yeah, don't take everything nice.
right.
Just yeah, be
Yeah.
mindful of what you brought and what you're taking
I've
with you.
seen the coupon thing though. I have a few friends who've gone to the coupon ones.
Hmm.
I'm not that organized for that. I'm organized, but not that organized.
But you have a group of
Um,
friends, like you said, your supper club, and y'all kind of do this on a
yeah.
regular basis. So that's nice, yeah, because that's a nice way
And we're
to just
all
kind of get rid of.
two out of the three of us. I'm totally selling one girl out, but two out of the three of us are major purgers. Like I feel so bad. My husband comes home like 3 pairs of shoes of his are gone. I'm like, I'm so sorry. You hadn't worn them in 6 months. I had to get rid of them. Like
Oh
I'm
my goodness!
such a. I know. Like every closet is. There's nothing extra in my home. Like
I
he
love
does
it.
Goodwill trips probably once every 2 weeks because I'm like, oh, we don't need those curtains. Every house in this.
Hmm.
Every window in this house has a curtain. We don't need that.
He
So
goes. Did you say
yeah,
he?
I
Oh,
load it
to
up and then
take
he
stuff.
drops it off.
He drops it off. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
So,
Yeah, that's awesome. That you're. Have you seen
yeah.
that? It's a Netflix documentary called Minimalism. I think you
What?
got to
I
watch
will
it.
watch
I'm
it.
in the middle of watching it, so it's really good. It's about
Is
like
it
two
kind of like the
guys,
life-changing magic of tidying up
kind
type
of.
of thing?
Yeah. Well, I did that last
Yeah.
year. Life. What was it
Oh,
called? Life
yeah?
changing. That was my book last year that I read.
Magic of tidying up.
Yes. So,
Oh, so good.
so like about September, October of this year, or this past fall, when it was getting a little nippy, I was like, I don't have anything to wear because the Japanese lady made me get rid of all my stuff. I was like, I have no sweaters. I had one sweater. I still do not have enough coats. Like, I have like a dress coat, but I don't have like a coat that I can throw on to go to the gym. Like, like that's so I've been wearing my dress coat to the gym, which is crazy. But
you know what,
I mean,
girl, you're the best dressed girl in the gym. That's just fine.
Yeah, just put a scarf around me.
It's like, what is that? The capsule wardrobe? Like you only have 30 items, or I read that and I'm like, shoot, I already do that. It's so, I love it.
That's great.
I think when we adopted Jericho, we ended up living in Uganda for 4 months, and we had, not a ton of space and at that point, listeners can read it on my blog, but we lost an adoption after the little guy had lived with us for 2.5 months. It's extremely horrific situation. But anyway, we had, 4 of us in this tiny little space, and just the few things we packed because we thought we'd be there for like 3-4 weeks. And we were there for 4 months. And so we felt so liberated living on such little things. I think I had 3 skirts that I rotated for 4 months and 4 tank tops,
Yeah.
And 2 pairs of flip-flops.
Yeah.
So it was, when we came back to our house, we were like, oh my gosh, let's just sell it all and buy a tiny home. Like we both
so much stuff. I mean, even you that, you probably purge a lot, like you said, but even just, there's still so much stuff that we have that we, we're not using it every day, but it's still there. And I mean, we might use it every now and then, but it's a lot of stuff. So I get you. For sure. I'm there. I'm right there too. I get rid of it. I have a bag in my closet, in fact, that's earmarked for Goodwill. And I just, if there's something like the thing that the tidying, the magic art, I can't remember what it's called, but the book
KonMari method.
KonMari, yeah. So now I have something in my closet, and I'll just leave a bag in there. And I just, if it doesn't fit or I don't love it, or it's torn or whatever, I just throw it, if it's torn, I'll throw it in the trash. But if it's, something that can be repaired or whatever later, I just throw it in that bag. I mean, it's just kind of hanging on a hanger, on a hook.
I'm going to do that.
And I just put it in there.
Idea.
Because if I don't,
such a good idea.
I will just hang it back up, and never goes away. And so, and then once a month I take it to Goodwill and empty it out, and then put it back. put the same bag back on that hook so that I can keep purging, because it's just not ever going to get better unless I do that. So
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Crazy.
So much for coming on. This has been so fun getting to know you and hearing your story. And, I'm going to be directing everyone to your website because you are multifaceted. There's so many other things that you do. Your blog is amazing. You've got these free resources on your website, and they can connect with you for whatever, and just kind of connecting and like SIP, like you said, there's information about how to start your own thing and your own Bible study or your own small group, community group. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What an amazing lady. She is tops in my book. I just loved getting to know her and hearing her heart for the women she is leading. If you heard something on the show that you wanted to jot down but couldn't, no worries, because all the information about this show and other shows will be in the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com under Rising Stories Podcast. Join me next week when my guest will be Rebecca Lyons, who just recently released her new book called You Are Free, Be Who You Already Are. She shares her story about her experience with anxiety and about how God showed her the places where she wanted to be free. So join me next week and tell a friend. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram to get in on some book giveaways. Thanks for listening, and keep rising in your own story.